Istanbul has always been more than a city. It is a threshold, a place where continents meet, where cultures overlap, and where history folds in on itself. For centuries, it stood as the hinge between Europe and Asia, Christianity and Islam, ancient empires and emerging modern states. In this reconstruction, we step back into Istanbul at the height of its imperial life, when the city was the capital of the Ottoman Empire and one of the most powerful and cosmopolitan centers in the world. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic paintings, maps, and engravings of Istanbul to life. By shifting perspective, adjusting angles, and moving through reconstructed spaces, we can explore what this city once looked and felt like, not as a static image in a book, but as a living, breathing environment shaped by people, power, faith, and trade. This view looks across the Golden Horn in the early modern period. At the time, this natural harbor was one of the busiest ports on Earth. Merchant ships arrived from Venice, Alexandria, and the Black Sea. Fishing boats crossed paths with imperial barges, while docks along the shoreline overflowed with crates of spices, silk, grain, ceramics, and precious metals. The harbor was not just a place of commerce. It was the city's circulatory system, carrying wealth, information, and people into the heart of the empire. Above the harbor rise the dense neighborhoods of the city. Wooden houses climb the hills, their upper floors projecting over narrow streets below. Markets spill into the roadways. The smell of bread, smoke, animals, and the sea mixes in the air. Istanbul was crowded, noisy, and alive. It was home to Muslims, Christians, and Jews living side by side, each community shaping the city's character through its traditions, languages, and rhythms of daily life. At the center of the skyline stands the great dome of Hagia Sophia. Once the Grand Cathedral of Byzantium, it became a mosque after the Ottoman conquest in 1453. By this time, it had already stood for nearly 1,000 years. Its massive dome seemed to float above the city, a symbol of continuity across empires. For residents, it was not just a monument, but a landmark by which the city oriented itself, a visual anchor in a constantly shifting urban world. Nearby lies the Topkapi Palace, the seat of Ottoman power. This was not a single building, but a vast complex of courtyards, halls, gardens, and private chambers. From here, sultans governed territories stretching from Central Europe to the Arabian Peninsula and from North Africa to the Caucasus. Diplomats arrived bearing gifts and letters. Officials carried out administration, justice, and ceremony. Behind its walls, decisions were made that shaped the fate of millions. Yet beyond the palaces and mosques, everyday life unfolded in quieter ways. Artisans worked in small workshops, crafting textiles, metalwork, and ceramics. Children played in the streets. Water sellers moved through neighborhoods calling out their presence. Women gathered in courtyards and bathhouses, forming social networks that rarely appear in official records, but were essential to the city's social fabric. The Bosphorus, the narrow strait that divides Europe and Asia, was another defining feature. Ships moved constantly between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean, carrying not only goods but ideas, stories, and news from distant lands. Control of this passage gave the Ottoman Empire immense strategic power. It also made Istanbul a crossroads where the world came to pass through. This reconstruction shows the Süleymaniye Mosque, completed in the mid-16th century under Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent. It was designed not only as a place of worship, but as part of a larger social complex that included schools, hospitals, kitchens for the poor, and caravanserais for travelers. Ottoman architecture was not just about beauty or grandeur. It was about organizing society, embedding care, education, and charity into the urban landscape. At the same time, the city was not without tension. Political intrigue unfolded within the palace. Religious debates shaped public life. Wars on distant frontiers affected the price of bread and the movement of soldiers through the streets. Istanbul was stable in appearance but dynamic beneath the surface, constantly adjusting to the pressures of empire. As night fell, the city transformed again. Oil lamps glowed in windows. The call to prayer echoed across hills and water. Fires were a constant danger in neighborhoods built largely of wood, and watchmen patrolled the streets calling out the hours and warning of danger. The city never truly slept. It merely shifted into a quieter rhythm. Over time, Istanbul would change. Empires would weaken, new powers would rise, railways would replace boats, concrete would replace wood. But the core geography remained. The hills, the harbor, the strait, and the meeting of continents continued to shape the city's destiny. Standing here looking back through these reconstructed moments, it becomes clear how close the past really is. These streets, these buildings, these decisions made centuries ago still echo through modern Istanbul. They shaped trade routes, political boundaries, cultural identities, and the lives of countless people whose names we will never know. Through this reconstruction, we do not simply look at the past. We briefly enter it. We walk its streets, hear its sounds, and sense its scale. If there is another city, another era, or another moment you would like to see brought back to life, let me know. I would be honored to continue this journey into the past with you. Thank you for watching.